Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome to Controller's Corner. This session is on extending GP with CRGroup add-ons. My name is John Smith. I'm Director of Enterprise Business Solutions here at CRG. I have worked with Corporate Renaissance Group for the last 14 years and worked with GP for 17 years since version 6. So spent lots of time on it, and the solutions we're going to show you today definitely add value as we go through this process. I'm going to try and give you some examples of where they're used and how they're used, and maybe one of them will fit in terms of something you're trying to achieve. So let's go ahead and get started. Just before we do, a couple of housekeeping items here. The webinar is being recorded. It'll be published on the Controller's Corner webpage, which is crgroup.com/Controller's Corner. You can submit your questions during the presentation today, and I will reserve time at the end of the presentation to answer any questions that come in. So please go ahead and use the go to webinar panel on the side of your screen. There's a question box there. If anything comes up, add it and we'll get to it. Also, watch out for this half-hour professional credit. If you're like me and you've got some accounting professional hours to complete, these are always useful seminars for that. So without further ado, we'll just talk about here what we're going to go through today. We're going to talk a little bit about some of these important elements that we offer: Changer, Reformator, analytical accounting tools, company combiner, MPerform, and then some of our enterprise solutions which deal with budgeting and costing. So first, let's start with just some add-ons here for Dynamics GP. And for those of you who are familiar with CRG, you probably know us for Changer. It never ceases to amaze me over all the years of going to trade shows how many people come up to the booth and see the CRG logo and they say, I use Changer, likely because we've sold that to over 5,000 different companies using GP. We were at Summit recently, just a couple of weeks ago in Nashville, and certainly got lots of interest still in Changer. So what does Changer do and how does it help? Well, first of all, I think Changer is something that every GP client in the world needs because from my experience, every 5 to 7 years, it seems like there's a chart of accounts change in order in most businesses. And usually that's driven by, a change in business operations, potentially a management change, new business units, new structuring. I sometimes have people tell me that their organization structure changes every time they do a budget. So Changer is an indispensable tool if you're using GP. What it does is it allows you to change, renumber, merge together existing accounts, existing GL accounts. You can do the same with inventory items, vendor codes, customer codes, project codes can be changed in there. Employee codes can be changed in there. So Changer is really a strong tool, and it is tried and true. Those that have used it are so faithful to us. All the partners that have sold it continue to sell it because they know it works. It has, all kinds of great scalability. It works really quick. I've done big changes before using Changer. Once I merged 25,000 active general ledger accounts into one. And that was, within the first few weeks, 14 years ago when I started at a medical clinic in Florida. And they had used Mass Modify to grow their chart of accounts. Every time they hired a doctor, essentially they created hundreds of new accounts. And, it was just spinning out of control. The system was bogging down, and we needed to consolidate and reduce. And Changer was very easy to do. Now, one of the hidden values of Changer that people don't know a lot about is that it actually has a really great import feature. So if you're thinking about, for instance, a chart of accounts change, what you do is you go run a smart list in GP, the basic, under financial smart list, if you go to accounts, just the basic default smart list that's there. You could run that. We like you to add the account index as the first column. So look that up and add it to the smart list. And then you've got your existing account. That's the only 2 columns you need. Download that to Excel. In the third column, just put in what you want the new account number to be. And basically you can import that into Changer and you can go ahead and run the change. We always advise with Changer to make sure you do a database backup before. Best practices here are important. We've never had anything go wrong with Changer, but we're always going to advise clients to do that. And one of the other big benefits of Changer is if you're looking at a massive change or a change that has multiple levels in it. In other words, one change to an account needs to be done before the next one does. Changer allows you to batch the changes as well. So lots of little nifty features here that make Changer really, really an indispensable tool. Again, I recommend it to anybody who uses GP. We also developed many years ago reformator, and we call it the perfect pair here. I want to talk a little bit about reformator. Reformator basically steps in when you're making a chart of accounts change and the number of characters has been locked in the chart. So when you set up Dynamics GP there and you set up the account framework for the first time, there's an option when we do that as partners, there's an option to lock the account framework. Once the account framework's locked, it sort of can't be unlocked. So if you lock it at 16 digits, you're married to 16 digits for life. So let's say, there's a business change and you want to add another segment into your chart and it's going to take you from 16 digits to 18 digits. If it's been locked at 16, you would need reformatter. And essentially you'd go in and run reformatter, it'll add the extra 2 digits, and then what would happen is you'd run Changer. Now you'd have 18 digits available, you'd spit out your existing, your existing account set, and on the next column beside it, you'd set up what you want your new accounts to be, and they'd be the 18-digit accounts. You'd run the change, and after it's done, it would look like that new chart of accounts change had been in place since the beginning of time. So together, these two make a great pair. They work well together, they're often sold together, and they're often part of this, indispensable rewrite of the GL. Talk a lot about Company Combiner these days. We get a lot of interest in Company Combiner, and certainly again at Summit last week we saw lots of interest in this particular product. Company Combiner is a product as well as it has some services associated with it. And essentially what we do, and we're the only product out there that does this, we allow clients that have created and maintained multiple Dynamics GP databases to merge them together. So, this happens a lot actually. So we get into a lot of high-tech companies where they go into a joint venture, they set up operations in a new country, and they spin out a new Dynamics GP company database to track that. Usually it's a separate legal entity, and they sit back and go, well, the only way we can do this in GP is with, a new company, so let's spin out a new company. We have talked with a company last week about an organization that has 400 or more GP companies, and they want to bring them together into about 20 to 25. And we've done large-scale company combines. Now, the way this works is you look at, first of all, the companies have to share the same functional currency. That's the one key requirement, okay? Like, we're going to merge a US dollar company into a Canadian company, for instance. All the merges have to be a similar functional currency. That's the one rule. And then basically what we do is we select the parent, and we merge sort of the children into the parent. And what it does is a lot of sophisticated code in the background goes and looks and says, okay, do I have a customer called CRG01 in company A? Do I have the same CRG1 in company B? If I find CRG01 in company B, does it have the same name and address and contact information? And if it does, then we can assume, hey, we've got a match, and we'll move all the history underneath CRG01 from company B into the parent company. And it works through the logic of that, if you think of GP, through everything, through the GL tables, all of the purchasing, sales, inventory, project, the whole application. So if this is something that you think you need, reach out to us and let us know. Now, the other thing I point out here, and it's not on the slide, but I always like to talk about this. We work a lot here with Binary Stream and their multi-entity management product. So oftentimes when we're doing a combiner, the client's bringing in Binary Stream afterwards and multi-entity management. And what multi-entity management allows you to do is it allows you to take one Dynamics GP company database and essentially set up separate legal entities in that one database. So sometimes these combiner deals go that, what the client's looking to do is they want to combine it into one database simply so month-end routines like multi-currency revaluation or fixed assets depreciation, is a button to press rather than, 70 buttons across 70 companies. And they would say, but we still need to maintain separate legal entities. Even if we combine them, they're still separate legal entities, they're separate audits, all that stuff. No problem. As long as the functional is the same, we'll put multi-entity management in place, and then we'll do the combine. So that's kind of the story that's out there. Again, these products are here for a reason. You know, they've been used and well tested, and we've got lots of great success stories with Company Combiner we can share with you. So if that's something you know of, something you're interested in, please reach out, and we'd be happy to talk more about the process and what's involved. Analytical accounting is something that we got really excited about when it came out, and I think, it was probably it was around 2008, GP8 at the time, version 8, and, you know, we really saw a need for this. You know, as a reseller of GP, we have lots of nonprofit NGO clients that have, you know, different stakeholders they have to report to, and it was always a challenge trying to, you know, create all these different dimensions, these reporting dimensions in the chart of accounts, because as you know, once you create that segment in the chart of accounts, you're sort of married to it for life. Once you put history in there, you know, you're stuck with it unless you use changer. So, you know, we thought when this came out, this was a great tool. And when it came out, we saw, you know, we immediately got on board and we saw some challenges come about. And we built analytical accounting tools really to deal with some of these client challenges. So let's talk a little bit about it, because there's 3 tools here. Analytical accounting segment converter is used when, we use it a lot when we're implementing AA for an existing client. So if you've created segments in your chart and you say, gee, if I'd known about analytical accounting at the time, I would rather have just put it in analytical accounting. Then segment converter comes in and actually sort of maps the history that's on that segment into analytical accounting. So base case example, right? We've done lots of chart of accounts changes, as I mentioned at the beginning of this. We had a client who set up a salesperson as a segment. Yeah, I wouldn't advise that, but you know, we weren't involved in the setup of that. So because they set up a salesperson and because they were in high tech, they ended up with like 200,000 accounts in GP. So first of all, we went and said, okay, well, we're going to need changer for that. Secondly, we went in and said, we cannot have the salesperson in the underlying core segment in GP, because every time you guys hire a salesperson, this COA is just going to explode. So we want to put it in analytical accounting. Client says, we don't want to lose the history we have on the salesperson. No problem. That's where segment converter comes in. So we set up the salesperson dimension in analytical accounting. We run segment converter, and basically on all those transactions in history in GP that have that salesperson on it, that use the account with that salesperson, it now had an AA tag on it, and we can replicate the history. Then what we do is we run changer and get rid of the segment in the chart of accounts. So segment converter comes in well there. And if you're thinking about analytical accounting and you're thinking, gee, I'd really like to get rid of a few segments in my chart, but I still need to track them, AA could be the answer, and you'd need segment converter. Analytical accounting changer is exactly what the name implies. Let's say we've invested a lot in analytical accounting, we set up lots of things, and we decide one day, gee, I need to merge or rename some of those dimensions. Analytical accounting changer will allow you to do exactly that. Really simple to use and very effective. And analytical accounting backfill is more of a unique product. This one was, you know, built so that we could do mass updates of analytical accounting on posted transactions after the fact. So a good example here would be, let's say that when payroll entries go through, you know, I really want to know projects that the dollars are associated with, and I wanted those set up as analytical accounting dimensions. You know, problem being that when payroll pushes payroll entries through, they don't always have the timesheet data. And maybe we, you know, submit and post timesheets and only look at them at the end of the month, but we're on a biweekly payroll cycle. Well, AA backfiller could be used to essentially say, let's take all that timesheet data at the end of the month and let's backload it against the payroll entries that went through during the month already. And so backfiller sets up a routine to allow you to do that. And again, a very effective tool. So if you've invested in analytical accounting, if you're using analytical accounting, these are 3 tools that will really, really help it, make it more effective, and obviously, you know, help with all your reporting challenges too. We're going to talk a lot more about chart of accounts restructuring. I do a whole sort of 30 minutes on this thing called Building the Ultimate GL. We're doing that on November 23rd. I encourage you to sign up and come out for that. This is, we're going to talk here more about best practices around the chart of accounts, obviously how to change it, but it's more around, okay, maybe my chart of accounts isn't working. What do I need to pay attention to? Where should I use segments? Where should I use analytical accounting? Numbering and sequencing, how to make it sing with Management Reporter so that it works really well with Management Reporter. We've done this a number of times in the GPUG community and always got great feedback. So I encourage you to join us on November 23rd for building the ultimate GL. MPerform is close to my heart. I've worked with it for 14 years. This is the only integrated employee performance management tool for Dynamics GP that's out there. And we have all kinds of clients on Dynamics GP using MPerform. But MPerform is really, starting to take on, more and more interest, as time goes by. And I think organizations are slowly starting to realize that, their investment in people is extremely important. And so they look at their performance management process as something that's been old-fashioned. It needs to be retooled. There is a lot of literature and press these days on retooling the performance management process, making, conversations about performance more frequent, making it easier for managers and employees, making performance top of mind. And in our MPerform world, these are all concepts we talk about. Now, MPerform is designed to automate the performance management process. So what we do with MPerform is create a workflow-driven performance management process with lots of check-ins during the year and lots of opportunity for feedback. It does things like 360 feedback. It does things like journals and performance journals, continuous feedback. MPerform can also be used to automate the annual merit review process. So if you're tying, performance to compensation awards, MPerform automates that process. And it integrates with GP to bring down sort of, the employee master information, and we shoot back to GP post-appraisal results. And obviously, if we go through compensation, we shoot back compensation results as well. So, MPerform is something, if you're using, any of the Dynamics products, we integrate with them. We got lots of Dynamics customers on MPerform. Something for your HR team. It's something that is not resident in GP HR, as you probably know, and really helps organizations with performance and something that your HR team will get really excited about. So, the various pieces, I mentioned them, but that they're included here. Some of the big items are really flexible appraisals, so we can design performance reviews in a way that makes sense for your organization. Ongoing feedback and journaling, integrated 360. There's a survey tool built in there, lots of notifications and alerts. There's a writing assistant. So, say you're doing a review and you're reviewing somebody's competencies, it'll actually tell you, hey, here's what it means to be exceeds expectations. Really useful for managers. There's a 9-box built in for talent review. I mentioned compensation planning before, and the great thing about this is you get lots of reporting and analytics. So if you're the finance type, right, they don't tell us this in accounting school, but let's think about this. Our biggest cost on most P&Ls is people. This product will help you understand the investment you're making in your people. Budgeting and costing is another area that we've spent a lot of time on at CRG, and another area that continues to be very interesting. Now, as you know, in the Microsoft area and in the Microsoft space, the only product that was ever there was something called Microsoft Forecaster. FRX Forecaster is where it came from. And Microsoft sunset that product, I got to think 5-6 years ago now. So, this is really now a third-party channel as far as Dynamics is concerned. If you want to do any sophisticated budgeting beyond sort of, uploading an Excel spreadsheet with amounts by month into GP, you've probably already gone down the road at looking at budgeting and costing solutions. For us, the two budgeting and solutions we talk about are really what we call corporate performance management solutions. And we do two of these because they're distinctly different. One is Board and the other one is Adaptive Insights. We're certified in both of them, okay? And Board is more of a modeling type budgeting software where you actually create screens for your end users, where Adaptive Insight is very structured. It's similar to FRX, but a lot deeper, web-based, traditional budgeting applications. Both allow multi-contributor models, both allow workflows to get, your budget's created. We have a challenge right now with a client where we're going to put in one of these solutions. Here's the challenge. They're a distributor, and everything they measure during the year comes back to gross margin versus budget. But it's not GL gross margin that they're chasing. It's actually, product gross margin, customer gross margin. So you've got to go sort of below the GL. You got to get into volume and SKU and quantity and price and cost and, at a very detailed level. As you know, we could develop all of that in Excel and throw it into GP at a GL account level, but that's not good enough. They need to go into detail. Problem with developing the model in Excel is that that's what they've done, and it's not easy to do reports because while we can go to the sales order processing subledger and pull all the sales data out in a cube or a SQL reporting services report, the budget's sitting in Excel. So it's impossible to marry the budget versus actual. What these solutions would allow this client to do is actually build a budget in these solutions, and we can actually bring data from GP into the solution to do some reporting. And that's why they call them corporate performance management solutions, because now they're not just budgeting, they're bigger than that. They're about budgeting, but as well as about reporting and business intelligence. So, if you have a need, and here's where the need comes, if you need to automate a multi-contributor budget process, and you need to get below the GL, you need to get below the chart of accounts, then these are two great solutions I'd encourage you to talk to us about. We got lots of history with both of them, work with lots of clients on them, and again, lots of success stories. They're both followed on Gartner. They're great solutions. You can check them out. Also, we do some costing stuff at CRG, and we have two products in the costing space. One is an activity-based costing product called Flex ABM. It's truly, true activity-based costing. And the other one is Cost Allocator. Now, Cost Allocator has a pretty big following in the Dynamics GP channel. Cost Allocator allows you to create multi-level step-down allocations. And for those of you who use GP and know about GP's allocations, you'll know that we have fixed and variable allocations in GP, but they're what we call one-step allocations. In other words, you run the allocation, it moves the dollars from one account to the other, right? In Cost Allocator, you can have multiple levels of allocation. So, let's say, for instance, I want to take IT costs and I want to spread them out to some different departments, like HR, for instance. So HR gets a share of IT costs. But then we say, you know what? I want to take all the HR costs that now include allocated IT costs and spread those to all the other departments because HR is another support center. So now we have a two-step allocation. IT has to give to HR before HR gives out to the other departments. This is where Cost Allocator comes in. It's actually a separate database. You set up your allocation model and your drivers in it. It pulls in the GP data. It runs the allocation, creates an audit trail and history reports, which your auditors will really like. And then it pushes the post-appraisal results back to GP as a batch of entries that you can post. It also has another advantage, a hidden thing that not a lot of clients know about, but I love. It has the ability to run the allocations, but send it back to GP as a budget ID. So we create a budget ID called allocated GL actuals. And then you can go into Management Reporter and just run look at the allocations or the post-allocation results just as a budget ID. It's not actually posting all these transactions into your corporate GL. And this is very effective. We've used this before when somebody says, hey, I got a good corporate GL, but, I want to see all of our products fully costed. And I want to move dollars around to fully cost them. Well, we could do all of that in Cost Allocator and just send it back as a budget ID, and then you'd see your corporate GL intact. And when you want to see all your products allocated, you could just run it through that budget ID. So, Cost Allocator, if you are doing a lot of allocations, it's something you should take a look at. It offers the advantage of the audit trail. It makes the the allocation process that's typically done in Excel so much easier. Really, it's just a model that's created and you press a button. You're not worried about formulas and lookups and all this other stuff that you have in Excel. You don't need to worry about that. So if you're in the allocation world, great tool and something you'd want to pay attention to. You can learn more about all of this stuff at our CRGroup CPM and budgeting web pages. So I think that's got it for today. I'm just going to take a quick look to see if there's any questions, and I'll deal with those. If not, don't forget to sign up for upcoming Controller Corner sessions at CRGroup/Controllers Corner. And I'll just take a quick look here at any questions that have come in. Was only one question. It's about Changer. Does Changer include all of the things you mentioned, or do you have to buy Changer sort of one module at a time? So the answer to that is you can buy a Changer license that does everything, or you can buy Changer just for the specific module that you want. So lots of flexibility there, and certainly more information available on our website at crgroup.com. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I hope you have a great day. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us. Bye-bye.